Yo, what is happening, everybody? Welcome back to Blood Splatter Chatter, another Sunday fun day double feature with the man, the myth, the legend, Missing Link. What up, my brother? How we doing, dude?
Doing well, my brother. Doing well. Excited to talk about these. One, it was very jarring, but the good conversation is going to come
Yeah,
from it.
yeah. I mean, what we're doing today, we're doing Abigail 2024 and In a Violent Nature. So, two movies from this year. In a Violent Nature, I would say we talked about Long Legs last week and Late Night with the Devil a couple months ago when it came back. I feel like those are the three like most hyped up movies of the year. So we're kind of hitting them all, and I feel like this is the most divisive of them, the In the Violent Nature one. Abigail's a little bit in the middle. We'll probably start out with that one. But In a Violent Nature, you've got people that there's a best fucking movie of all time, the best slasher ever, an elevated slasher. I've heard people say, like, if Friday the 13th was made by A24, this is what they'd make.
That's an
So,
apt comparison.
yeah, I can see that. I think, and we'll get into it, but I think it could have been done better. But we'll dive into all the nitty gritty of that. But quick, what's up to the people popping in? Nick, my brother, we know we got one of the biggest horror heads out there. He loves that cringe horror, baby. Road collecting, Sal in the house, Inja the Binja. I appreciate you guys starting out a little Sunday double feature with Steph and I. I figured we were talking about it beforehand, but neither of us have seen like all the movies that have come out or even close to all the horror movies that have come out in 2024. For me, I think the biggest reason why I haven't like peeped out most of these on this list that I'm going to go through is because I haven't heard anything good. I've heard mostly negative about most of the movies, and I'm just like, fuck it. And I know
I'll
like
wait.
each year there's so many that are going to drop between now and Halloween that I'm sure, we might leave this year being like, oh, it was one of the best of all time. But right now, I think it's been a little bit on the weak side. I know, like you said, you haven't seen too fucking many, but from what you have seen, what has stood out to you the most this year so far?
Um, I will say, Jesus, I've only seen like a handful, but
Right.
maybe Long Legs, just for its style and its presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, In a Violent Nature, definitely it we'll get into that, but it does stick with me.
Right.
Abigail, I think it was a solid, I think that's like an audience pleaser, that I don't think it's
Totally.
gonna
Mainstream
not.
audience pleaser. They're for two very different things we're doing today. Exactly.
Yes.
We've got the experimental horror fans, slasher fans horror movie in a violent nature. And then we've got the one that you might go, your grandma might watch Abigail. She
Yep.
might,
Yep.
depending on the
Yeah. No.
grandma.
Yeah. You-
What up, B?
there's there's a few that you had listed
Here,
in the
let
back.
me just let me go ahead and just run through them. I could have done this on the front end. As far as what I've seen, it's Late Night with the Devil, Long Legs, The First Omen, Maxine, A Quiet Place, and then these
Maxine.
two movies, Abigail and In a Violent Nature. The ones that I need to see that I hear at least something about is I saw the TV Glow,
Want to see
which
that?
yeah, it doesn't look like necessarily my thing, but I hear
Mhm.
pretty good things, so it might be my thing. Two foreign films that I would have covered, but we just hit so many goddamn foreign horror films that we gotta. Sorry, India, that
The
pandemonium. It's on the list, but it's gonna be a minute. But Infested is this spider flick that I've heard nothing but good things about. Fable had dropped it in the
this.
chat a while back for a
Oh, okay.
Shutter original. Everybody says that's a really good spider movie. Exhuma is a South Korean flick that just dropped a couple weeks ago on Shutter that I'm hearing nothing but good shit about. And then Immaculate is like a kind of really similar to First Omen. It's like a religious, some nun, but I hear mostly good things about that. Night Swim, most people say sucks. Lisa Frankenstein is very divided. The Strangers, chapter one, most people say sucks. And then just last week, Arcadian, Nicolas Cage Shutter original, which I hear mostly positive things about. It's more like your standard Nicolas Cage role. He looks like the national treasure guy more than he looks like long legs in that one. And then I'll just run through the ones coming up, at least that I'm excited about. Alien Romulus, Oddity.
Yes.
Oddity's out right now. It's like a low budget indie thing, but I've really only heard of it from one person, and that's Mike Munzer on the Evolution of Horror podcast. He says it's his favorite of the year, and I love that guy. I love everything he does, and he's got phenomenal taste. So if he's
What's
digging it, Oddity,
what's it about? Okay, I'll check that out. Yeah.
I know that I saw like there's this big like tree statue guy that is currently like in New York City that like people are like putting his statue places as like a marketing thing. So there's some big like tree thing. It's supposed to be weird. That's the main
Okay.
I know. And then coming out Christmas time, we have Terrifier 3. Then there's a new M. Night Shyamalan movie with
Josh Hartnett,
thank you, Josh.
Trapped. I think.
Yeah, I want to see that. Nosferatu is finally fucking coming in December. Smile 2, which I'm kind of excited for. I thought Smile 1 was pretty good.
Smile was solid. Yeah, that was a movie. I haven't gone back and watched it, but I've
Mhm.
wanted to go back and watch it.
Yeah, we
I
should
feel like
review
I
it. We did it for
yeah,
Dylan's Horror Show. We should do it here for sure. That and Black Phone are like two of those
yeah.
really mainstreamy movies that some people love, some people don't love so much that we should probably review. And then finally, Speak No Evil, the remake, which I'll recommend to everybody. Just watch the original that came out in 2022. I don't know. Not I mean, I haven't seen the new one, but I can't imagine it being an improvement over the original, which is mostly in English. It's like
And
85% English.
I mean, James McAvoy is a strong pull.
Totally.
Like unless you're gonna get a crazy because I'm thinking of M. Night Shyamalan still has it in him sometimes, but like Split, I think under any other actor might have been
To-
a really big fail. So I think he's a big pull for like you might get a really good performance for him out of
100%.
this.
He's the type of like just using him as an example. My brother doesn't like horror. Why the fuck are you doing that horror channel? He doesn't get it, but he'll probably go watch that because it's got James McAvoy in it. He's a
Yep.
poll that's going to bring in more mainstream. I think if it's like the original, a lot of people are going to be like, "What the fuck?" and they're not going to like like it at all because it's not aimed at mainstream audiences. Inja's saying respectfully, Josh Hartnett can get it. All right,
Yeah,
now we know.
the faculty, bro. That's prime Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, I know. I noticed he doesn't do the old bedhead anymore.
Other
Rose saying
music.
something about Smile annoyed the F out of me, but I need to do a rewatch for sure. I
I
could
remember
see that.
I think I was very ho hum on it. I think I gave it like a 3.35. Like, I
Mhm.
was like, it was solid, but I don't see why it's getting
Right.
all this buzz. But I have been wanting to rewatch it.
I think my takeaway from it, if I remember, I think I might have given it like a 4, but that was a while ago. I might not still give it a 4, you know what I mean? But I remember thinking it was effective. It was very tropey. It felt like a bunch of different movies, but it didn't
Right.
feel like it was overly derivative of those movies.
Oh,
It was kind of doing its own thing, but
yeah.
it was a blend of enough different movies that it felt kind of original.
It's
But there really wasn't
um,
anything too original, other than the
it was
smile, which
solid.
is cool.
Yeah. It's creepy, bro. When people have those really forced disturbed smiles, like that
Right.
shit's disturbing, unnerving.
Hell yeah. Warren Smith, my brother. What up? What up? All right. So I mean, I would say for me, I think like if I'm sitting here right now, if I were to tell you my top ones, Late Night with the Devil, I don't know if it's in my mind, it's aged as well. Like it's still cool. It's definitely got those third act issues with it. But Long Legs, I know it's like fresh in my mind. The thing I didn't say about that when we reviewed it is like there's something about that world that I like. You know what I mean? Like I like spending time in that Long Legs world. Like I could throw it on again and just kind of enjoy it. Like I think a lot of people will probably say that about In a Violent Nature. Like a lot of the people that love it, they like that world because it's very atmospheric. You know what I mean? All right.
That's
Now,
that's actually really well said. I think both those movies excel in establishing certain, their atmosphere and certain
mhm.
ground rules from the beginning. Blair Under what was the name? The cop from Longlegs?
Agent
Blair
Carter
Underwood?
in it. Yeah, Blair
Yeah.
Underwood's the actor.
He needs more work, bro. He really shined in that role.
Totally.
Yeah. Get over here.
I know. I want him to just do the voiceover just do the intro from Blood Splatter Chatter. It's like he's got an
Blood splatter.
amazing voice. Yeah. So good. They could have worked on that name, Agent Carter. It's like, first of all, we got a pretty famous Agent Carter. Second of all,
Yeah.
I think we just could have done a little bit better. But all right, all right. Let's go ahead and dive into. We'll begin with Abigail, and this one again. Both these came out in 2024, directed by Radio Silence, and starring. I went ahead and wrote her name down. Alicia Weir, she plays Abigail, which I think she's fantastic in it. And then Melissa Barrera, who she starred in Scream 5 and Scream 6.
You know what's crazy? I'm sorry to cut you off, but
No,
this
you're
ties
good.
into that. I was gonna say, like, I felt like Jenna Ortega was. She reminded me of Jenna Ortega,
That's
and maybe
funny.
that was the connection. Is that I knew that she was in Scream with Jenna Ortega. Okay,
Did
okay,
you see, because I know you're not like the biggest Scream guy, did you even see, you saw 5 because we reviewed it.
yeah.
Did you see 6?
6 was yes. That's where
New
they're in New
York?
York, right? Yep, yep.
What did you think? Just because I want to talk about Radio Siren, let me run through their career real quick. We reviewed VHS 1. They did the final segment in that with like the guys going to the Halloween party that was like a real haunted house and they get stuck on the tracks at the end. So I didn't love it, but that was kind of their intro into the horror world. And they did a couple other things that were small, and then they had their biggest hit. I would say, well, the Scream movies are big, but my favorite movie that they've done is Ready or Not, 2019 with Samara Weaving. It is like the
Yes.
sister movie to this movie. There are so many parallels that we'll kind of get into as we go through it. But I love that fucking movie. You saw that one,
Ready,
right?
yeah, Ready or Not. It's Margot Robbie's little sister or whatever. Samara Weaving. Was she in that babysitter one?
Yes,
The,
yeah.
okay, I really like her. She's definitely a little like, I don't want to call her a last girl because she tends to be the bad guy most of the time. Well, maybe she doesn't, but
Yeah,
I
she
like her.
mixes it up. She's
Yeah.
phenomenal. Dude, I fucking love her. She's got the best scream. I'll say it. The best scream in horror history. This like, it's got like vibrato to the scream. It sounds like a wounded animal. And she's just she's gorgeous, but she plays the quirky kind of girls that, you know what I mean? That you not quite the type of her look, which I dig.
Agreed. You know what? Samara Weaving and Jenna Ortega were both in that Babysitter, the sequel, the second one.
Shut up.
Yeah,
That's
Jenna
funny.
Ortega.
And Samara Weaving was in, obviously because of her connection with the Radio Silence guys, which I don't have. Their names are like tricky to say, so I'm just not going to do it. But it's two dudes that are like partners that they direct these movies together. But Samara Weaving was in the
Okay.
opening scenes of Scream 6. Remember, she was the girl that gets killed
Oh,
in the alley.
when
Yeah,
she goes to the bar or whatever, she's meeting the. Okay, yes.
right.
Mm,
I went ahead and wrote down just like some of the comparisons to Ready or Not without spoiling anything from Ready or Not. It blew my mind. But just like we've got all the exploding body parts, we've got the main thing is it's set in this mansion in one location.
trapped in
You're
the.
picking off people one by one. I think in both movies they make references to the Agatha Christie novel And Then There Were One, which is like the foundation of the slasher genre in general. Like everything you could trace all like movies, like body count movies, back to Agatha Christie, and specifically that novel, which I think is
Wow.
kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, it's cool.
They're both movies, they're waiting for the sunrise to come. This one because of the vampire, the other one's you're gonna
For the
die.
curse.
Yeah, when the sun comes up, the family's gonna die. The bit in Ready or Not where she falls into that pit and there's all those goats down there, that's really reminiscent of the bodies scene in this one, the pool of bodies. It's all a game in both of them. We find out in Abigail that it's all just a game, same as Ready or Not. There's a bunch of characters that don't fucking like each other. That might be a little bit loose, but that's a similar
No,
vibe with
yeah,
nobody fucking
yeah.
gets along. You got these two female leads that just get bloodier and bloodier and bloodier by the time the movie ends, they're both just drenched in blood. I think
Proven heroes.
Samara Weaving wore it a little bit better, but they both look fucking good. And they both end with shots of a mansion where they're pulling away, and Samara Weaving is lighting up a cigarette, and Melissa Barrera is popping that lollipop in her mouth. It's like
Because she
they
was
are
a.
very conscious of all this.
Yeah.
Did you get
And
that? What was the
so
candy thing? Did you get like what was her candy thing
So
about?
she like they mentioned she was like an ex drug addict, and I
Oh,
guess
that's
that's
it.
like they have habits. That's how her pat fixes her oral fixation.
Mm-hmm. I can get behind that. I couldn't figure it out. I watched it twice, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to figure out this candy thing this time. That I
Fresh
guess
stand
that'll do
clean.
it.
Yeah,
All right. What we
coffee.
got? What do we got? You got these talking about down here. I want to see. My man's talking about Bava. Bava movies have their place in the growth of slashers. Hell to the especially
Have I
Blood
seen
and
one?
Black Lace. I had this whole plan, man. At one point, we're gonna do this whole road to Halloween thing, and we're gonna cover all these like proto slashers and everything that led to the slasher. I plan to do it like I think all of pretty much all of 2025 is gonna be that leading to
Okay.
Halloween. So I'm
Okay.
excited about that. But that I'm gonna do Peeping Tom, we're gonna do Psycho, we're gonna do uh Alice, Sweet Alice, probably Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just all these things that we can argue along the way. Like, what is the first slasher? We might stop
Yeah.
at Texas Chainsaw and be like, "Fuck it, this is it. This
What do
is
you,
it right here."
what do you think is technically like the first?
You know what I just heard because we were talking backstage, or maybe we were on air about like why don't I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a slasher? And part of me is like, oh, I do, but part of me thinks I don't. And then I heard
Mhm.
someone say recently the fact that it becomes the the main character in that movie ends up being the family. Like it switches perspective to where it's like you think the main characters are Sally and the crew, but it ends up being more about the family. And it's like this group of people. It's kind of like the
Right.
Psycho twist in a way where you end up being aligned with Norman Bates. You're never
It's that,
aligned with that family, but there's something about that that just like,
like
I don't know. I wouldn't really argue too strong against the idea that it is a slasher though either,
I could,
because it
yeah, 'cause, they are getting picked off, by a mass killer for the most part. Um, it- is Halloween up there?
oh, I think I mean most people, including me, would say Halloween is the first
Commercial.
undeniable slasher. It's the one that it sets all the tropes going forward of the teens have to sin and the ones
Mm,
that don't sin, they live. You're picking them off one by one. It definitely establishes the supernatural silent slasher tropes that we get. And then like I've said a bunch of times, it goes a couple years where no one really replicated the formula like too well. You didn't get the slasher boom until Friday the
right.
13th. That's the one where people are like, oh, that's how we do it. They like got
Right.
the formula down. We could do this for how much? Oh my god, let's make a bunch of these fucking things. Yeah, Warren Smith talking about The Burning, which is definitely great. Bay of Blood. That basically it has like a half-hour sequence in it that is the prototype for Friday the 13th. It's a bunch of annoying fucking teens partying, doing drugs, showing their tits, and getting murdered by some
What
guy. And
what year did
Friday
that come out?
1970. So
Wow.
yeah, 10 years before. And then Friday the 13th part 2, it takes a couple of those kills like straight from the movie. Like it just copies those kills. So it's clear. Like they watch that movie and they're like, "Oh, let's just do one of those." More or less.
Check that out. And that's a Bible film?
Yeah, that's about, and it's beautiful. It's so fucking gorgeous. It's not like good, but it's beautiful. It's fucking shot so
Let's check
well.
that.
Chill
Let's
Out Man says, I don't know the name of the genre. I just come for the splatter and stay for the chatter. Bruh, slash that like button. Hell yeah, chill. Hell yeah. What up, brother? And then Warren Smith saying House on the Edge of the Park, which I've never heard of that one. That's interesting.
yeah, same.
There's one called like Fright, I think. That's a 1970, 71, 72 British horror film that has a lot. It's like a babysitter being stalked. And it's another one that's like a lot of people say Halloween was inspired by that majorly.
Okay.
But okay, let us dive in more deeply to Abigail. And let's just begin there, my brother. I'll just say I enjoyed it. It didn't blow me away. It's one of those that has its good things. It has some things that just drive me fucking nuts about it. And my biggest thing is when comparing it to Ready or Not, which I have a hard time not doing, coming from Radio Silence, I think it feels way less inspired. Like they're not just not as into it. They didn't care as much. They didn't like even performances wise. And the other big thing that we'll get into is like I don't know if they leaned into any of the it's a horror, comedy, action, heist, vampire ballerina flick. And I don't know if they leaned into any one of those hard enough to make it like clear what they're trying to do
What
and how well it's executed.
I can
But
see that.
where you at on it, bro?
No, I'm right there with you. I think it's serviceable, it's enjoyable, but it's not to um I'll go deeper on it, but it's like it's not gonna blow your mind. But I think you hit it on the head, or the nail on the head with it's trying so many different things. Like, by the third act, not to get too far ahead, but it's like
No, go ahead,
it
man.
switched up. We got Abigail's the hero all of a sudden, and she's
Right.
fighting. It's like we don't. She's been chasing these people down. Now she's the hero, or it's like a team up movie, and it becomes like this vampire fight when it was like this predator stalks it
Right.
from like a good portion of the movie. You know what's weird? It has a great cast, but when comparing it to Ready or Not, I don't know if they have a good rapport with each other. Like,
Oh, couldn't
everyone kind of
agree
flips
more, man. It's
in
exactly what
Ready.
I thought. Like at one point in the movie last night, I wrote down like, I don't think these guys all get along. I like everyone, and we'll
Yeah.
dig deeper in the
Yep.
cast, but everyone's cool, but no one really stands out, and no one has that good of chemistry.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I
I
agree.
like the dude, the cop with the glasses that we were just talking about. I always forget his name, David something, or but he's a really good actor.
Yeah,
Uh,
Frank, the guy that ends up
yeah,
being bad at the end. Yeah, yeah, he's
yeah.
great.
But he felt a little dry in this role. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we weren't offered enough backstory with the characters, but I don't
Yeah.
know. It,
Well, that's
I
another.
just,
If I can jump in, another similarity
sure.
between Ready or Not that I'm just thinking of, Samara Weaving's character in that we get nothing of a backstory. Other than that, we get one little tidbit that she wants a family. She's desperate to have a family. In this one with Melissa Barrera, we get nothing other than that she's got a kid and she
We don't
fucked
even know if
something
that's
up.
true.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
even know it's true. I guess we get that she was a drug addict and shit, but there's very little buildup or
No, yeah,
character.
there's no backstory. So, and it's like these characters all meet under the guise they're all already doing shady shit. So it's like you can't really trust them to begin with. We don't know. Like at one point, I was questioning. I was like, maybe she's some really sick assassin chick, or it's like she's got some really dark past, and the kid's a cover to try to
Hmm.
make her her to come off softer to people and shit like that. Like she's a sorry kid. She's a
Okay.
sheep in wolf's clothing. But I'll be right back.
No, no, you're good, man. Sal saying the ballerina aspect didn't make sense to me, but it did look cool when she was killing people. I agree. It's like there's one point where Abigail she breaks loose and she's chasing people down the hall and she starts pirouetting and shit. And it's like I liked it. It was stupid, yeah. It's but does it make any sense? No, I couldn't really figure out why. Actually, I think I did figure out why she's a ballerina. And it's like, well, what did Megan do? Megan dances. What did they name that movie? They named it Megan. Let's call this one Abigail. Let's see if she can dance. But they didn't make it go viral. They didn't like, unless I missed that. There's no like
No,
uh
no, no.
mimicable move that I can take from this, you know?
There's I mean Abigail was cool looking, but I don't really think this movie might have been a little bit more gory than I would have liked this Megan to have been more as gory as this. Megan was a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, but in terms of the trailer, it was very or weird to see like this doll fucking dancing in the trailers and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and no, she was a but that's where I get confused. It's like she's a ballerina, but she's like playing with her food, but then she's trying to get out of there. I'm confused with what her motivation is,
Right.
like why don't she
Well,
just all come out at once?
I just don't like that her the one thing that we're told is like, oh, I'm just playing around. I just like to we find out, which I guess I could have set the premise up for people. It's basically we have this group of people, they are hired, they're all professional fucking bad guys. They're all hired to kidnap this kid, and they're told that they're gonna do a $50 million ransom to her father. We find out that her father is pretty much like Dracula, right?
Yeah.
He's like this biggest badass vampire ever, and then we don't learn until 50 minutes into the movie that she's a vampire too, unless you look at the image that you click on to watch the movie where you see that she's a vampire too. That to me is one of the, I don't really know why. I mean, I guess I get the idea like, oh, let's do From Dusk Till Dawn. Let's start as an action
Definitely.
heist kind of a movie, a crime thriller, and then turn it into a vampire movie halfway through. But I don't know. I don't remember the marketing from Dusk Till Dawn, but I feel like it didn't
Yeah,
work in this one.
no, man, I mean, they've Robert Rodriguez has fallen off, but you got Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
But
exactly,
no,
dude.
realize that how they were trying to ape off From Dusk Till Dawn until you said that. But yeah, it's like it's this thriller heist. We got to try to get this job done, and all of a sudden they're trapped in this place with vampires or
Yeah, oh, I didn't even
vampires.
think about that. Yeah, you're
Have
right. They're the same, both trapped in one building. Right. I didn't think about that.
yeah, nope, and fighting their way out. I don't, this movie, I think it wasn't bad, but I think it almost was too jokey, or probably it didn't take itself seriously enough at times. Like people are getting their fucking head ripped off, and people are making quips about it or not taking it as
Right.
serious. Like you guys are trapped there in there, and that could be potentially you, and no one seems to really, you know, grasp the gravity
Right. That
of that situation.
that's one thing I struggle with is like, is this movie fun? Like, what's it trying to do? It's trying. I'm like, okay, I
Right.
guess it is trying to be a horror comedy. I think that's where it's like it really misses the mark, especially comparing it to Ready or Not. Ready or Not's funny
Yes.
as shit, and it's clear. I was thinking about this. It's like when you think about a movie, you should be able to, if it's got a mixture of genres, you should be able to tell pretty quickly what's the main genre. Like
Yep.
if I was to say Shaun of the Dead, it's a
Comedy.
it's a comedy. Ready or Not
Yeah.
is a comedy. Tucker and Dale is a comedy. Or I mean, I'm having a hard time thinking of like action ones that you can kind of lean into.
Mhm.
Like I guess Dusk Till Dawn, like they do the
Uh,
same thing where it's not super clear, but I think overall it's funny enough to where like, I don't know. What do you think of Dusk Till Dawn? Is it an action movie? Is it a comedy or is it a horror? Because that's the most apt comparison. And it's like
ooh, that's a good question.
I
I
think they
think
I
I
think
think
they
it was
do
more of
every element better though in
they
that.
do. Yeah, Dusk Till Dawn, that's the prime example of what this movie's trying to do, you know, but it doesn't balance the genres as well. Um, I would, you know, I think from Dusk Till Dawn, I don't know, maybe because it balances so well, you could classify it as like a horror action, an action horror movie, you know, like
Hmm.
because they do both so well. Like it really has some
Right.
creepy, for action packed as it is, it does have some genuinely disturbing. Not, you know,
Totally.
it's not going to scare the shit out of you, but you know,
Right.
think a movie that is where they're fucking like a dude's got a dick for a gun or
Yeah.
whatever, you'd be scared in that type of movie. But there has its moments.
Even the way that Tarantino is in that movie with Juliette Lewis's character, it's creepy. It crosses some lines at some moments in that movie where this one is very bubblegummy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're not trying to piss anybody off. Hey, let me mention while I'm thinking of it because Robbie's up in this bitch right now. Two of my favorite dudes talking about two movies with a lot of wasted potential. I fucking couldn't agree more. Robbie tonight is going to be on Rock and Robbie Live sometime between maybe the hours of 8 and 9 is going to be announcing the full Horror Fest lineup between Pop Culture Philosophers, Blood Splatter Chatter, and Dylan's Horror Show. So the event is going to be kicking off towards the end of August, and it's going to be rolling through Halloween. So hell to
Big
the yes.
things.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. And I will be announcing it on Thursday when we talk Blowout 1981, John Travolta, which I watched again last night. When I watched it the first time, I was like, "That's cool. We should definitely talk about that." It's John Travolta, De Palma. There's a lot of things to talk about. I watched it again. I'm like, "This movie's fucking awesome, dude." Like, I
I'm
love.
that tonight. I'm very curious. I've never heard about it until you showed it on Thursday. I was like, Blowout. What is it? I thought I heard of all of the John Travolta movies.
Right. I thought I heard of all the De Palma movies. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, yeah.
there's the thumbnail right there. Very excited for to show you guys this one. This is one I'm excited that nobody's seen, and it'll be a real fun one to talk about Thursday. But carrying on here with Abigail, we touched on the cast a little bit. It's got
Yes.
a lot of people. I guess I said it, man. The one guy that I wanted to bitch about, then I found out that he died last year of a drug overdose, and it makes me
Oh,
feel
yes.
feel a little bit
Or
bad.
Angus. Yeah.
Yeah, you got his name?
Angus St. Cloud or not now.
Yeah,
I know it's like
Angus Cloud plays Dean in this one. What? Let's just start there. What did you think of taking out the fact that the guy died? He annoyed the shit out of me. Like I know he's supposed to be
yeah.
likable, but it's like open your mouth when you talk. I don't like that shit.
You know, I only know him from. I don't think he really did too much beyond Euphoria. I think that was his claim to fame. And
Mhm.
from I haven't watched Euphoria, but from what I've seen clips and from what I've seen, he was essentially just he was like Channing Tatum. You know, like Channing Tatum. It played the same role earlier on. Maybe he's getting Channing Tatum's getting better. I still think he's a bitch diva, but earlier on in his career, he played like the same. He was step up guy in every movie. Coach Carter, step up. They're all the same dude.
Right.
I think Angus was kind of on that same thing. Like he could maybe have potentially have gotten better, but
Mhm.
he was just essentially the character he played in Euphoria. You
Well,
know,
I
like
mean, just the fact that the guy died from a drug overdose, not talking shit, but it kind of feels like he was this character. Very
yeah,
similar. This guy, the guy
well,
in the movie, seems like he would pop a pill or two. You know what I mean? He's
yeah.
just like,
I feel like he might have. To be honest, unless I imagine that scene, but yeah, he felt like he was drugged out. Like I would not trust that guy to be my getaway
yeah,
driver. You know,
right,
like
exactly. Exactly. Seems like a type of dude that that would be falling asleep at the wheel. I had the picture of the cast right here a second ago. Where'd it go? There it is. Um, who stood out to you other than that? Like I said, I think everybody was serviceable. The freaky girl was good. The blob, which is what I know him from, big, tall, Elon Musk looking
Oh
motherfucker.
yes,
He's
he's under
okay. He's likable. The black dude was probably the most likable guy. But then they
Giancarlo.
killed
Yes.
him fucking instantly. It didn't even show him be killed on camera.
Oh,
I
the
thought that was a
military.
bad decision.
Yes, yo, yeah, that kind of threw me off because he was like the most badass character, and they kind of established like a flirty rapport between him and our final girl,
And then
and like he's the first one to go. Like it's
he
like
dies right after that.
yes, seemed wasted. Like why go through that if you're not gonna do anything with it? Like why set that up if it's not it was not like you said, he died right after they kind of established that. So it was like maybe it's for the shock and awe, but it didn't
Mhm.
work for me. I
Yeah,
kind of felt that was he was the most badass dude, and I felt like he was taken out way too easily, way too soon,
it was crazy. It was
Yeah,
first of all, it was an awkward, clunky attempt at uh,
romance.
showing us a love connection. They're just like staring at each other's lips for a minute. It's like, okay, I think they want to fuck, but it's like it did not feel natural or organic at
Mm-mm.
all. And then I guess it's clear, but what is happening to the people? Because Abigail, we see her in cuffs. Clearly, she can get out of them as we
Mhm.
see her get out of them later. Is that the way that you read it? Is that before we see her break out of her cuffs, she's been breaking out of the room and running around and killing people and then going back and cuffing herself
Yeah.
back up, right?
Yeah, but that's how I took it. It was just like a cat and mouse game. Unless Giancarlo was, but
Oh, yeah,
they
yeah.
they didn't show us any reason to why he would have been doing that. Like I feel like that would have come. I think I don't know. It just confuses me because that's what I'm saying. Like the whole movie, she's doing this cat and mouse thing or playing, toying with her food, and then at the end of the movie, she's like, "Let's team up. I need to get out of here." I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I did like the moment where Giancarlo turns Frank and then Frank kills him fucking immediately right after. And then Frank and Freaky Girl looked great as vampires. Like, both, I wish we could have seen the Freaky Girl for
Freaky
even
Girl.
longer.
She probably was my favorite, to be honest. She played
Catherine
aloof.
Newton.
Catherine Newton. She was in Ant-Man and Wasp or the Ant-Man 3, wasn't she?
That's what Chill was just saying, or Sal was just
Oh,
saying.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
she's
yeah.
Ant-Man's. I don't, you know what? I don't know if I ever made that connection that
Yep,
the Freaky
she's
Girl was in Ant-Man. Okay. Peace out,
she's
Robbie. Appreciate you stopping in, brother. We'll see you tonight, bro.
but her and I felt like Final Girl was a little dry, to be honest. But Freaky Girl, Giancarlo's always cool. But and Frank, they're probably my standouts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, nobody wowed me, but everybody actually no, Alicia Weir, Abigail wowed me. At
Yes.
first, when she's like acting like a little girl, I'm like, oh, is that the greatest acting? And I'm gonna fucking like you. But then, spoiler alert, when you find out later that she's 200 years old and she's been pretending to be a little girl, you're like, okay, it all jives. And I love her. I love her when she's like just
What else has she
dancing
been in?
around being all creepy. She played in the 2022 Matilda musical. She was Matilda. Just so funny. Abigail and Matilda, two very different roles right there. Robbie's dipping out, gives Abigail a 2.5 and In a Violent Nature a 2.0. Not impressed was Rockin' Robbie Bills with these two 2024 flicks. All right, so we touched on the cast. We touched on all the shit I wanted to touch on. Do you got anything else you want to get into before we rate this bad boy?
Abigail, it's fun. I can't be mad at the end of the day. I maybe like expectations or me comparing it to other shit has hampered
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I just feel like it could have been better. It wasn't
Yeah.
terrible, but it could have been tightened up in a few spots.
You know what? I'm so glad I remember to say this because it bugged me so much. And I watched this movie twice. I hated the bit where Melissa Barrera is like guessing everybody's characteristics and backstories. Clearly, it's a way to like to give us everyone's backstories. But like, if you remember later on in the movie, Abigail, I think she does like the same thing. Abigail gives this big long speech where she's locked up and she's calling everyone out on their bullshit or whatever. But like the delivery and the performances from Abigail, the little girl, and Melissa Barrera, like Melissa Barrera could not pull off that monologue. It's like a
Yes.
Ace Ventura, Sherlock Holmes. You are this and that and that and that. And there's like
So sure of
no,
yourself.
there's none of that. Like
Yeah.
I don't buy her as a badass person that would be involved in this heist for 1 second.
Mhm.
And I don't buy her as someone that can pick apart people's personalities and past just by looking at them. And like her performance there just killed me. There was a couple moments where it's like, I'm into this, and like, oh my God. Like right after the Abigail reveal, the vampire reveal, she's going crazy. She's biting people, and it's like really intense for a couple minutes. And then they stop it immediately and they go like one room over and they all
Everyone's
have this
joking, and
conversation about, yeah, like let's just
yep.
have a calm conversation. It's like, no, let's keep the momentum going. Like, let's something
Let's
happen.
split up and try to find her by ourselves. You know, we'll all report
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, no,
okay.
dude, I kept on telling, like, my grade kept on going down. Like, the more I think about it, and then you nailed it. Just comparing it to Ready or Not, it's like, yeah, these are two movies that are trying to do pretty similar things
Mm.
in certain regards that we've
Oh
talked
yeah,
about. And Ready or Not just like shines, and you see the
excels.
passion. And I feel like these guys are like, we just made a bunch of money off Scream 5 and Scream 6. Let's squeeze this
Let's use
one
this
in
money.
before our next serious project. That's the way
Yeah,
it felt
yeah.
to me, at least. Let's get some money while we're hot.
Oh yeah, and like I said, you know, it's definitely serviceable. I don't think it's a waste of people's time, but it's just it could have been so much better. You know, it had
Mm.
potential.
Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, and just saying, not everyone cares, but both Bath and Body Works has Stranger Things line of candles now. Well, alrighty then. I
That's
had no idea. That's some good marketing. They're marketing at the right crowd because those movies are definitely more like female centric scares. I would
oh
say
yeah.
the stranger home invasion type flicks. Chill Out Man says he hadn't seen Abigail yet. But she turns out to be a big gal.
Hey,
No.
Big L.
Oh
Hey,
my
Big
god.
L.
Oh my god. It took me a minute. It took till you said it till I fucking got it. I'm not gonna dignify that with a laugh. I'm just gonna shake my head at you, young man. All right. Well, let's go ahead and rate this thing before we move on to In a Violent Nature, my brother. Where are you at 1 through 5? You guys in the chat as well.
I'm I'm just in between like a 3.25. It's serviceable. It's not a bad film, but there's a lot of wasted potential, and it doesn't seem like um so just for as much as works in this film, there's
Mm-hmm.
just as much that doesn't work. You know, it's kind of on an even kill like that. So you know, it's not a bad film, but it's not gonna blow you away. It's something it's worth throwing on. Something like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm in the mood for something fun. You know,
It's entertaining. It kept me entertained enough the
yes,
entire movie. I was never
yes,
like, which I'll go ahead and say now, like In a Violent Nature, there was parts that I was like, oh my fucking
bro.
god.
Checking the watch for
Yeah,
sure.
check it.
Jesus.
I ended up watching that thing a second time, and I was fast forwarding through bits. 15 seconds ahead, like come the fuck on, chop
You
his
know what
head
I
off,
did?
and let's go.
I put on the I sped it up for like times two, and the
No
shit was
way. That's
god
hilarious.
damn it, like that's how you know a movie's slow. But we'll get into that. But yeah, 3.25 for Abigail. It's worth seeing, but some wasted potential.
I agree. There's a one line that I was going through my notes now. One line that I loved that I wrote down is they send Sammy, which first of all, I don't know why the Rat Pack names. I don't get how that fit with that movie. I tried to think the Rat Pack were all cool people. Are these? I don't fucking get it. Like
Yeah,
naming
the
them
connection.
all Rat Pack names. Like if somebody understands that, I would love to hear it. But at the one point, they send Sammy off to get some garlic. We need some crosses. Blah blah blah. She comes back with a bag of onions, and Frank goes, "Sammy, those are fucking onions." And just like his delivery there was fantastic. It was so funny. I'm gonna go, bro. I'm gonna go. I was at like a 3 or a 3.25. I think the first time I watched it. I watched it again, and though I still enjoyed it, there's so much like I'm irritated at the fact that I don't think that they were trying as hard as they could. So, like, just because I'm so disappointed in Radio Silence, the crew, that and I think the cast was there to put in good work, and they just didn't like put enough heart into the whole thing. The directors didn't. I'm gonna give it a 2.75. So a 3.25 from Link, a 2.75 from me. Chills. We got a 2.5 from Sal. Dun 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 dun. Again, a 2.5 from Robbie. I don't know if any of you guys, other of you,
My
have
bad.
seen this. No, you're good.
Sorry, I
Sal
heard
saying the pool of bodies in the basement was a great set piece. I agree. There's a
Yes.
Dario Argento movie called Phenomena that has a similar. It just like gave me the same vibe. It's not nearly as many bodies. There's a girl falling into a pool that looks pretty fucking similar, but it's like they saw that and just like amped it up and made it like way bigger and nastier.
Would you score it? My bad.
I gave it a 2.75. Just based on the potential that was there. And just that I feel like these fuckers, like, I don't know. It made me lose respect for Radio Silence. Even though they made a decent film, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like it just felt cheap and like a cash grab. But yeah, Warren Smith says sounds mediocre. It is, and I don't want to sound too negative on it. If you've got an hour and a half you need to kill, this will do that for you. And it's not bad. It's just
it's an hour and a half way more well spent than within a violent nature. I would say.
I would agree, and that is a great segue to dive into many people's favorite horror movie of 2024, directed by Chris Nash, not Steve Nash, former Phoenix Sun from the 90s. Chris Nash, he's a Canadian dude, and in this movie, what is it? The story is basically this kid was killed back in the day, like 10 years ago, through some sorts of magic. He has been placed under the ground, and he's got this watch that was given to him by his mother. It's the only thing that's keeping him like dead underground. There's a pole, there's a watch hanging off it. As long as it's there, he's buried underground. The beginning of the movie, we've got these campers. They take the watch. We see him slowly get up. And then a good chunk of the movie is like a video game where it's the killer's POV just following him from behind. But would you agree that, like, I went into it thinking it was going to be almost all that? They varied that more than I was expecting, at least. And I don't know. I don't know if I appreciate it more. I think I did, or should they have just stuck to it? Like, what do you think about, just like, before we get into your overall thoughts, just like that aspect of what they did with the camera?
So I feel like I don't. If you're gonna experiment with something, I would have probably respected you more had you gone all the way with it instead of like pussying out at certain shots. Because there's certain shots where I was just like, it's not gonna make sense. Where we're constantly like always
Kevin
seeing
Nash.
Kevin Nash.
I think I said Chris and Steve.
I think I said the dude had a dick for a gun. I meant he had a gun for a dick. So,
I didn't catch it.
But no, I feel like they should have kind of went with it. I'm sure it probably would have been easier to pick apart, but I would have respected them more, because here it's like the whole premise was sold on POV, but then it's like not everything is POV. So it's like, you guys, that was the advertising. You sold on the premise, but you didn't really deliver what you promised.
If I can just clarify a little bit, explain to people, they'll be, like I said, most of it, like a video game, you're following this guy, or good chunks of it. Maybe they're going like 50, 60% of it. But then they'll cut off, like there's a whole bit where they're telling his origin story, and you've got the very tropey, stereotypical campfire origin story where people are sitting there telling the origin story around a campfire, and the camera for like a few minutes is just circling the campers, just keeps going around them and around them. And like sometimes when I see shit like that, like I don't know what to think. It's like, okay, they're trying to do something. Like, is it successful? And I would say by the end of it, I'm like, no. They were just like, I don't know. We got to do something with this camera. Let's just circle them for 3 minutes. And it was just like, I don't know. That didn't work for me, that aspect of it. I will say there's a movie called Angst from 1983. That's a French flick where they're following a serial killer, and the camera is pretty much like fucking strapped to the guy almost the entire movie. Like they cut away from it a couple times, but I just watched that. If you want to see a movie like this that's done better than this, that's fucking harder to watch because it's just a rough, nasty serial killer movie, check out Angst from 1983. But
okay.
I don't know. I kind of almost appreciated the fact that they switched it up, because as boring as this movie was, it would have been more boring had they not varied the cameras a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't think they could pull it off. Man Bites Dog, Warren says. I just started watching that too. Is that like that? It's a movie where it's like a horror comedy where there's a documentary crew. It's another, I think, French film, maybe German, where I think it's Austrian, where anyway they're following this serial killer, but he's like talking to the camera like the whole time. That's funny that you mentioned that. That almost made the Horror Fest lineup. Man Bites Dog
You know,
one.
that popped into my head. I was gonna like if I think they're trying to be artsy with going with like the silent Michael Myers Jason type, but it did pop into my head how more interesting would it be had the killer been like a Freddy Krueger and we were following his point of view, so like someone who could
Oh,
talk or
right.
entertaining, engaging. We might hear some thoughts or some shit like that.
That's
Um,
what angst is the guy's narrating the whole time. Like he's telling you
uh,
what he's thinking, but in this like very monotone thing. But it's interesting. We should cover it one day.
I'm down. I'm down. I'm gonna check that out. And Man Bites Dog. Is that the
Yeah.
one you? Okay, I checked
Yeah.
that out.
That's cool.
I I mean, the movie would have been way more boring, but I feel like I would like if you're gonna go for it, go for it. I'm gonna appreciate the effort. I respect it more because with this, I felt like they made it a little bit easier to watch, but kind of you backed out or you bitched out of the whole premise of what
Mhm.
you've kind of based this movie on. Because without the premise, it's just another
Totally.
slasher,
Which is here's I
So
think
that's
my
why it's like
biggest
go for it.
here's my biggest issue with it is, well, first of all, just like the pace and like the way they drag out every scene. Like when you stack these scenes that are dragged out one after another, it becomes unbearable by the end of it. And then we'll touch on the end and how fucking infuriating I found that to be. But here's if the movie had done what it's kind of trying to do. Here, let me explain it like this. I think it opens up super fucking strong. The first kill, we're following this guy, and as he's walking through the woods, we're seeing a animal trap. We see a dead animal in the trap that was never taken out. So we know there's some asshole that's just putting traps out in the wood. He's trapping animals and just leaving them to suffer and die, right? He ends up following this guy and he's hearing a conversation with someone saying, "You can't leave these fucking traps out there, blah, 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 blah." We're learning a lot, right? And then he ends up killing the guy, and there's all this like information that we're getting through that kill, and it's not a lot, but it's like, oh yeah, that was kind of cool. I see everything that they did and it wasn't done in like a explainy type of way. We're just like picking up on it. And if they would have went through the whole movie and we're hearing him, we're seeing him hear these campers have these conversations, if they
Right.
could have found a way to make me give a fuck about those campers through that, then it would have been a masterpiece. It would have been so fucking
Yes.
cool. But I feel like they just failed on that throughout the entire movie. It gets to the final girl. I'm like, okay, I guess this is the final girl. I give no fucks about her. I wish we would have
And
seen her die
she
at
was
the end.
around until she was the final girl. Like you didn't really see who the fuck she was until she was the last person.
Yeah.
Um,
Any
I
of
have
them.
an
There's none of them
interesting
that I give a fuck about. They're trying. They're like, one of them's dad died. One of them's being a dick to his girlfriend. There's like little things here and there. But like, imagine if they pulled that off and if they could have executed that, this would be a fucking awesome movie. But they didn't at all.
No, yeah. I have an interesting theory on the probably not, but I was just thinking how cool it kind of would have been. Like it would kind of give explanation to certain things. But what if that pendant Final Girl was wearing? Because obviously, I think he left her alone because she gave him the pendant back. But what if she wore the pendant and the pendant was like cursed, and she is the one who had been doing all that killing? Um,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
and because running out the woods towards the end, she's kind of having that freak out moment where then she gets like steps. I don't know how the fuck that happened to her leg. To be honest, I was kind of dumbfounded by
They
that.
didn't show. I rewound it, bro. They did. Yeah, at the end of the movie, she's just got this stick shoved through her leg. It's like, how are you gonna fall and have that happen to you? Or did he catch up to you and
Yeah,
do that? Then you got away. Like, yeah, that was.
yeah.
I wonder if something was cut that didn't work, or if they were just like, no, this will be cool. Like,
But I don't know. That's the. Oh, I guess maybe that's how I was trying to think of the movie from like her perspective if she was the one walking around like because then I'm thinking like these guys had shit spatial awareness throughout the entire movie. Like,
oh my god,
you're in the fucking woods, you see your friend die, you should be looking around like what the fuck? No, they're all looking in one area even after friends have
right?
died, and he's getting
It's
the drop on them.
Are they
he's
wearing
not running.
earbuds too? Like he's this big guy fucking stomping around, walking up behind people that don't hear him.
In the
That was
forest.
fucking annoying. Yeah.
You know, you hear the
Crunch.
crunch. Yeah, come on, man. It just come on. But that made me think like if she was the one possessed and she was the maybe it kind of gives her like some enhanced strength and shit. Because the kills were some of the kills were cool. I will give you that.
Totally. They could have been better. They
Could have
could
been better,
on a
but
movie that is so reliant on badass kills. I'm actually a
you
little bit
could
disappointed, even though it's got some fucking amazing kills. This movie should have had every kill should have been incredible. Nobody
it
should
should
have
have.
died off camera. It should
Yeah.
have been fucking like holy shit. All those kills were amazing. And
What was your favorite kill?
my that's the thing is like my favorite kill is also super fucking annoying, but it was incredible. The hillside kill, right? He sneaks up behind that
The
girl.
young
He's
girl.
the yoga girl. He for people that haven't seen it, this is probably the one that I remember hearing like, oh, there's a kill that's like an all-time kill. This has got to be the one that they're talking
Yeah.
about. He
Yeah.
walks up behind a girl. She has fucking like no reaction, or it's so weird. He walks up to the girl. She sees him. She freaks the fuck out. She walks over to this cliff. That's like it's not a straight down thing. It's a very slanted cliff that she could have just jumped off of and take her fucking chance. Instead, she just stands there and lets him stick something
it.
through her fucking head. It's so weird how he does it. He sticks this like hook thing through her body, not her head, through her body. She slowly just turns around, doesn't make a sound. Slowly turns around. So he grabs the hook, sticks her in the head, spins her around, and then pulls the hook through her stomach on the backside, which makes her head fold down and pop out through her back, which is fucking awesome. But why does she just stand there and let it happen? Like what did you think of that, or what was your favorite kill?
Yeah. No, that was my just the whole how he, you know, do the stomach turn around, hook through the head, and then it pulls. You know, that was I was like, okay, that's cool. Also the dude who thought he had it all figured out because his dad fucking killed him long ago, or he took care of him 10 years ago. It was fucked up how he like severed his spine, but then was just slowly like cutting his hand off and then cut his head off. And my man he couldn't scream or anything. He's awake, he's alive. You can't just he's just looking the entire time. I thought that was pretty fucked up.
I didn't get that he was paralyzed the first time, and I was like, what the fuck? Why is this guy just standing there or
just sitting there
not screaming too? But okay. I actually Googled, can your vocal cords be or can breaking your back cause you not to be able to speak? And it's like it can, but it's very rare. It's like this motherfucker should have been able to speak.
Yeah. Or scream something.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Scream, yeah.
Oh no, I get what you like. Yeah, he should have been able to say something. But then even that scene, like his friends, just we got to get out of here. And then as soon as I don't know, it was just a lot of dumb shit going on. I did like the kill how he was like, hey, he's like, I'm gonna try to distract him, and he like sneaks up behind him, and he just turns around and like whack. That was pretty funny. But
the kill was great, but why does he sneak up behind him and get so close to him?
Bro,
it's like it was also so stupid. Everybody was like, here's the biggest thing is the director did not know how to do a chase scene with this slow guy. Like, okay, how do we, without having like quick cuts and things like that, like, you know what I mean? That's what a chase scene is quick cuts and all this action going on and jumping forward in time or whatever. And they didn't have the skill to pull off any tension like that. There was other ways that they did, like the lake scene. We see him go underwater, and I don't know. It was kind of cool, but also at the same time, because of the nature of this movie, I don't want any kills where you don't see the kill. Like sneak up on her, then kill the fuck out of her, like slice her shit. Don't drown her underwater and walk out. There was elements of it that were cool, but it's like, you could have done.
There were some. For like you said, every kill, just because the premise or like how much this movie's lacking in certain areas, every kill should have been stand out. But there's a lot of kills. There's like, man, I'm gonna throw an axe into the back of you're not even gonna see the axe going in his back. We're just gonna show you afterwards. And then the whole the rock thing with what bothered me about that is like, no, bro. Even if you're gonna get fucking crushed, try to defend yourself. Like you're just accepting this shit. Like I
will say. I did try to figure, like, I don't know. That's the thing is, I'm like, how the fuck did they do that? But then the answer is always CGI, I guess, because it was pretty seamless. That and even like the one you were talking about, the wood splitter kill, it
Mhm.
was pretty cool. Like it's right up against his neck. You see the guy's eyes blinking, and then his head's being cut off. I'm like, but it just
How did
sucks
they
that the answer is
transition?
probably computer animation. It's not as impressive. I don't know. I mean, unless there's some other way that they did either of those
With this
kills.
this movie, I don't know. I feel like nowadays practical costs so much unless you know have someone, and that's becoming like a rare uh extinct art form, to be honest, or it's not,
Mm-hmm.
to find someone that knows how to do really good practical effects. And with how good it didn't look amazing, but it would look seamless. So, like you said, his eyes would be
Yeah.
blinking, then his head gets cut off. So I think that's CGI is so much cheaper, to
Mm-hmm.
make it blend like that. So I think in this case it was CGI.
Yeah, it
Um,
had to be because I mean,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, it was cool, but like that kill specifically, it just took too long. Here's the thing: is like there's people that will watch X 20 from Ty West and be
mhm,
like, fucking slow as shit. I'm like, dude, I fucking love all that slow shit. All these long drawn out scenes. I love these
that's
long
tension.
drawn out scenes. But like in this movie, I don't. I think it is slow. I think it is fucking
It is.
boring. There's not anything else going on other than them thinking like, all right, we want to show things happen in real time. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe for some people that's immersing them further in the film, and that's why they love it so much. But for me, I'm just like, oh my God. I wish I would have thought
Mhm.
to double the speed. Like just
Yeah.
fucking
It's
I,
still long. That's the thing. That,
I was gonna say
I don't
I
know.
had
Yeah.
the first kill that we don't actually see. At first I was annoyed, like, oh my God, we're not gonna see the kill. But I thought it was actually really cool. We see this image of him reaching for the watch, and then he stops because he's got to go kill this motherfucker. And then right before he kills him, it cuts, and now he's reaching for the watch again, but his hands all drenched in blood.
But
And I was like, that's why I think it was a really strong start. Like the
yeah,
first 15 minutes, especially on a rewatch, I was like, you know what? I might really like this movie the second time. And then once it got deep into it, like I'm like, I fucking hate this movie.
it would that you see. It's like initially, it's like okay, this seems like it could be interesting, but then it's just like rinse, repeat, more of the
Yeah.
same shit throughout the. It doesn't ever really escalate or go anywhere.
Or pick up steam. Like it doesn't
Yes.
build steam. It's just like, okay, now let's stop again and wait and kill. There's never any like, okay, now the movie's kind of moving at
There,
all.
and I get it. But that's what I'm saying. Like in order for them to make this movie flow better, they would have had to break the premise of what this was founded on, of the POV. Like there's so
Yeah.
many fucking shots of him walking through the woods, not just walking, and for a
Yeah.
good while, it's not quick shots of him. You're following him just walking through the woods for like 3 minutes straight,
Yeah.
maybe a
There's a
little more.
couple like that. Well, I mean, there's I really wish like I wonder if anyone's done this to set their time down. Like how much of the movie is just following this guy walking through. Like
It has to be an easy 10 minutes, bro.
yeah, which
Maybe
sounds not like that much, but it's a lot. It's a lot when you're just
when you just watch walk.
or when you're just like talking about him dragging a body or just like just doing nothing. Like it starts to fucking build up. One kill I wanted to mention is I think it's the first time we actually like see him kill a guy is the fat dude that's in the woods. He's going to either take a shit or bang these gas station bitches, which I don't think we don't know if we ever meet those gas station girls, but I'm curious. I want to know about them. But when they chop it, he chops his head off from the back, but his tongue is still there and it's like flapping around. That was cool, but I feel like they took that from Halloween Ends with the DJ guy. Do you remember that? When he fucks up that DJ guy, the black dude, and he ends
Oh
up
yeah,
fucking cutting his head off, but his tongue's still sticking out. Not that that's a bad
yes.
thing. Like take cool things from cool places, but I thought that was a cool kill, and I like the way they
That
did that.
was, yeah. I was like, man, that's a strong saw, my man, and he made it seem like butter too.
Right, right. We hit them all.
I,
It's kind of funny. We've hit them all. I mean, there's only 8 kills in a movie that I feel like should have 20. Like
yeah,
it should have been a fucking slaughter at one point. There's the bloody hand. There's the one I just mentioned with the head chopped off. The girl drowning in the lake. The cliff kill, which is fucking epic. The axe kill that we don't see. He hits a dude with an axe. The rock kill, the wood splitter, and then the guy that says, "Hey, motherfucker," or whatever. Like it just gets his takes it. He gets hit like 30 fucking 40 times. Absolutely, absolutely insane. You know what I wrote down one thing I think that they could have tried to do in order to make us connect to those characters a little bit more, he should have got fixated on the final girl in a way. Like
Yeah.
spy on her, like maybe have a moment where he doesn't kill
Or
her.
he's just kind of watching her, like just observing her, you know, and
Right,
it's like, yeah, I totally agree with that. It would have made more sense or been more
right,
satisfying why she's the final girl at the end.
right. Or
Also,
even start it from her perspective and then switch to the POV or something to make us give a fuck about her.
so she did he wake up because she took the pendant?
Yeah, or I think it was her boyfriend took the pendant, and that's why she has it. Because I don't think she was
Was
there.
her
It's three
boyfriend the one
guys
who
talking.
Oh, no. Her boyfriend was the one who got fucking obliterated, I believe.
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe,
'Cause
yeah, yeah, probably.
sheriff dude or the one with the gun that got sawed off, and he's like explaining to them how he's ran into this dude before. I'm like, why would you grab the pendant, or why would you let them take anything if you're the one who put him there and you know the
Right.
backstory for all this shit? Like, why would you let this all unfold? Yeah,
Why
I
not
was
get a bigger, taller pole that people can't just walk up and grab the pendant off? Yeah, that was. You know what I thought at first? I thought at first I'm like, oh, this is cool. I thought he was underground with that pipe like in his mouth, and that's how he breathes, and that's just like the kind of dude he is. He just goes and like he just gets underground and just waits there to stalk his victims. I'm like, this is fucking kind of gnarly. But it took me a while to realize, like, oh, that's obviously once they reveal what the fuck's going on. I'm trying to think of what else I was thinking that like could have made it a little bit fucking better. There was no music, which I respect the fact that there was no music because they're trying to go
yeah,
for something, but it definitely had its effect on the movie. I did appreciate the one guy listening to his headphones, and they get unplugged when he gets killed, and then there's music like shitty quality music coming out of his walk boy, which he's got or something or whatever the fuck it is.
what year did this movie take place?
That dude, it took place now because they're talking about cancel culture. But for
Okay.
whatever reason, they mention it that he's got a tape player. Because at first I'm looking at his headphones, even his headphones. I'm like, it must be the 90s or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of odd. But yeah, for some reason, dude had a tape player. Actually, I know why. Just so that they could do that scene where his shit gets unplugged and it plays. Like,
Oh,
okay.
did you think the lady that picked up Final Girl at the end, did you think something was up with her? Or like she
Definitely.
was maybe the mom
I don't
to
know what to think of her. What do you think of the end? Okay, for people that haven't seen it, our final girl gets away. She gets picked up by this woman, right? She kind of looks like what Sally looks like now from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I got text from that
Right.
scene, yeah.
She's like this blonde woman, kind of a badass, and she tells this fucking long, boring ass story that puts our main character to sleep and it puts me to sleep. And then like they stop on the side of the road because the main character, the final girl, she's fucking bleeding out. And they're like, oh, we got to put a tourniquet on this thing. And there's all these shots off into the woods, like, oh shit, he's about to show up. And then they flash to very slow reveal to see that he'd picked up the pendant that she left, and the
And
credits
he's
fucking
satisfied.
roll.
Yeah.
I guess, man. So that's all.
Oh, and
That's
then
great.
she like gave this story about her brother getting attacked by the bear, which I felt like they were trying to allude that that was really him that attacked her brother, but her
Yeah.
brother's. I was confused. I don't know. I was thought they were trying to allude that she was in on it. I don't know. I got vibes like she was in on it at first, but then, and just the way the scene played out, it felt pointless. Like like what was the whole point of that conversation? You could have
I love,
just.
I love it. I think we're saving some people some time here. And just saying, so I'm hearing I'm not gonna watch this, and Warren's saying, "Snap, sounds like shite." Yeah, I mean, it's almost something that's like, if you're depending on who you are, if you're a big horror fan, big slasher fan, it's check
Check
it
it
out
out.
because there's not another movie like it, and you might love
But
it because there's people that do fucking love it. But I did not. It's like it seemed like a waste of time. I'll definitely never watch it again. Like I
no,
watched it twice. I regretted watching it twice. I didn't need to.
I tried watching this like a few weeks ago and I couldn't really get into it. And I was just like, maybe I just wasn't in the right headspace. I'm going to go into
Mm,
this optimistic. I'm going to try to get in the mindset. I couldn't do it. I tried,
mhm.
I went into this really like, all right, I'm going to just lock in on this movie. Maybe if I'm just focused on it. And it didn't do anything for me focusing on it. It made it worse, probably. Had I
Right.
probably been more distracted. And those scenes of him walking pissed me off. I'm just like, this is where comes off as like pretentious. Like, what's the point of this? What are you trying to convey? What's the point? What's this adding to the story?
Right.
Nothing. It's just it's a gimmick, you know. And if
Yeah.
you don't do the gimmick well, it wears itself thin, and this gimmick wore thin very quickly.
Right. Well, I
Unfortunately.
mean, I was thinking about like what is the point? Because one of the reasons why I like old movies, and one thing I appreciate about old movies is the long takes. I love a long take. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And like it's like, well, what are they meant to do? They're meant to set you in the scene. There aren't cuts in real life. So
Right.
it's like you get more immersed in something. It's like they're taking the time. We're gonna take 3 minutes. We're just gonna follow this guy. They must be thinking that's gonna immerse us in the film, but it just fucking is
It
boring. You're
doesn't.
just like,
Yeah.
come on, man. Just like when the guy gets dragged, I think he's a cop, maybe the guy with the shotgun gets dragged off towards the wood chipper, and it takes like 30, 40, 50 seconds to drag him there. I'm just like, you guys are assholes for making me watch that. There's a reason why we don't see Michael Myers setting up the bodies and doing all his interior decorating and shit because it's
You know what
fucking boring.
they were trying to build anticipation for like or give us anxiety like, oh shit, what's in store for him? But when we finally get to it, it wasn't that. I mean, it was terrible, but it wasn't anything that was worth waiting that long for. Like,
Yeah.
oh shit, he's really got it bad. Like, if the dude was gonna like slowly torture him or something,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been like worth the wait. But he chops off his arm. He sees that it works well. He's like, okay, we're gonna go. I thought he was gonna
Right.
go for a limb, make him like
You down
just
the
what are they
middle.
called? Yeah, that's what I thought was really he was
Me
gonna
too.
start from the head or something, or anywhere he would have started from the middle would have been fucked up. But no, like I said, it's just it didn't because like you said, the scene leading up to that, it's like he's 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 crippled or whatever, he's paralyzed, and we're seeing from like him on the ground. Then like that goes on for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Then he finally grabs him, drags him in there. That takes another like 15, 20 seconds. Then we finally see setting up the wood chipper. That all that shit takes too long
For
to,
real.
and the pain isn't worth it,
For
So
real, man. And then just to shit on the scene even more, which is a pretty fucking it's a good kill, but also like when the guy's laying there with his arms don't it would falling off. Like it looked very unnatural. You could tell that wasn't his arm. Like it looked
mhm.
like shit. It would looked really good when he cut his neck off, but the
Yeah,
arm bit, like it just didn't fucking look natural
it was cheap.
at
My
all.
CGI.
All right. I think we've done it, brother. Trying to
Did you
think if
have this is kind of pointless asking. Do you have a favorite character?
that's a great fucking question because there almost isn't a fucking character. You know who my favorite character was? Is the fat guy that wants to go
To
take a
bang the
shit in
choo
the
choo.
woods. He just seemed like the most relatable, and he's the first one of the campers that they kill. Like right
Yeah.
off the bat, I kind of had almost connected to him. All the rest of them, I just don't give a fuck. Did you have a favorite character, or what did you think of the guy? Does he have a name?
No, they never did. I think they said his name at the beginning, but they never gave him like an official name. His origin kind of reminded me of like a Pumpkinhead meets Jason type shit,
Uh, yeah, very.
Um,
Yeah, that's a great call out.
but he wasn't bad. I felt like his look could have been better, but I kind of was reminded of the Victor Crowley, where it's like I feel like Victor Crowley looked better as like they had a good foundation. Like this dude's got a solid foundation, but maybe if they do more films, hopefully they change it up. The
Hmm.
pacing, his look was all right, but he kind of reminded me of a cheap version of the Goonies. What's the
Oh
Sloth?
yeah, sloth.
Sloth
Yeah,
from the Goonies.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which I mean, which Jason Voorhees looks a lot like sloth. He's
very
got the
true.
lopsided eyes, lopsided ears. I mean, he was, and I don't mind it. I really don't mind that he's basically a Jason ripoff because it's been 45 fucking years. Like, go ahead. Like, it's kind of cool just to try another silent slasher killer. Like, it worked for Art the Clown. I think Art the Clown's badass, but he's not.
Very true.
He's his own thing. Like this guy is obviously derivative of Jason, and it's a camp slasher. They tried to make a Jason type
I will.
character.
The whole
Maybe I do have more of an issue with it now that I think about it.
understandable.
Yeah.
I was the fishing the helmet, whatever, I forget what
Hmm.
that's called, the deep diving helmet. I thought that was a little cool because it did remind me of Bioshock for the video game heads,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
big daddies from Bioshock. So other than that, I think I thought it came into play better when he walked underneath in the lake and shit like that. But other than
Mhm.
that, I kind of felt it was point. It looked cool, but it was like, why does he
Yeah.
need a mask?
Well, the
Like,
other thing is because I agree, I think it looked pretty cool. Like when I saw that he was getting, I'm like, oh, this is cool. But it took him like 10 minutes to grab the thing. Like he goes and he looks at it for a while and he breaks the glass and he gets it. It's just, I mean,
man's a
that's
deep thinker for
yeah,
he
right. Very
contemplates
deep
a lot.
thinker. Exactly. All right. So it sounds like both of us enjoyed this film quite a lot. Let's go ahead and just got great advice. You never go poop in a horror movie. Never. Never. And don't have unprotected sex.
It's very true.
Warren says, getting your leg over is the
Surefire
main
way.
one. Hey, waka waka. All right, let's go ahead. If anybody, I don't know if any of you guys in the chat have seen this one, but Steph, my brother, 1 through 5, what are you giving In a Violent Nature?
Ah, man. It's not the worst thing I've seen, but it's just like pretentious, and it's like for the premise they tried to sell this on, I felt like they missed out in so many ways. But I applaud the effort in
Mm-hmm.
certain aspects. I just wish they would have kind of swung for the fences. Sorry. Um, that being said, I appreciate what they were doing, but I don't think it was very well thought out. And if you're gonna do a gimmick, you kind of have to really see the gimmick from all sides, like make sure the gimmick can thrive in everything you're doing. Like, the gimmick only works so well in so many scenes in this movie. They should have added, because
Yeah.
I think they thought of the premise and like, oh, wouldn't that be cool? But that was it. They didn't really think of how can we make a full length movie out of this.
Mm-hmm.
As a short story, this probably would have been a really fucking cool, a short
This would
short
have been
film or
a
something.
banger short story. Yeah.
Yeah.
This should have been a VHS short.
Yes. Yes. An anthology VHS. This would have been was one of the standouts.
Just
But
imagine if there's like a bit of a comedic element to it, and like these guys like, dude, we found this like Jason Voorhees type killer, and we strapped a fucking GoPro to his head. You know what I mean? he was down and we strapped him. When you shoot the guy, he lays there for about 30-40 seconds. So we had a chance.
might have given me an idea for a zombie movie.
Yeah.
We're gonna work on that. That's actually a good idea. But I applaud the effort, but it fell so far from what it's trying to do. I don't. I really, for the people that love this movie, nothing against you. I really want to hear your thoughts. I want to
Mm-hmm.
see why you don't see how you could defend this.
Same.
Um, I'll give this a 2 out of 5. I really, respect the effort for trying something, but it wasn't well thought out. There's just so many boring ass things, and like you said, I do appreciate because the Coen brothers do great long drawn out scenes, but like you
Mm-hmm.
said, it's when used right correctly, it's establishing, you know, a feel or like letting emotions set in or something for a certain scene. This movie had none of that. It was just long and drawn out. It just
Right.
I don't know. It didn't work. But yes, a 2 out of 5. This applaud the effort, but you guys could have done so much better.
So much
Probably.
better, man. I agree with what you said. Well, I agree with all that because I'm giving it a 2 out of 5 too. I was tempted to go watch some reviews, which I don't usually do that much anymore, or even like read some reviews ahead of time because I want to know like what are the people. And again, not to talk shit. If you love the shit out of the movie, then good for you. I'm jealous. You know what I mean? Nothing
Yes.
against you. I wish I enjoyed it as much. But like, what was it? Is it just the kills? Like, did they feel like they were really immersed? Is this the Jason type movie that they were always wanting and never got? I don't know.
Right.
For me, it's like again comparing it. Before I saw it, I heard someone say this was fucking amazing. This is what it would be like if A24 made a Friday the 13th movie, and what we get in this movie is an exact like replica of a shitty 80s slasher, but just from the killer's POV. They didn't like upgrade the acting or the characters on the other side to make it like that
Right.
A24 feel. There's no
Right.
like
Yes.
there's no themes. I think this was like it's like a mining town or whatever where people are losing their jobs. I hear that early on, so I'm like, okay, maybe there's something like that. There's the careless trapping of the animals in the wilderness, and it's called In a Violent Nature. I'm like, okay, maybe there's something about eco shit going on. It's like, I don't know. Unless I missed it and went over my head,
They
there
don't.
was none of that. And also, like, unless there's something in that fucking end scene that went over my head. I agree with you. That bear attack was probably Johnny, which is his name. That's
John,
that's the killer's
very,
name is Johnny.
I
Which I
would
guess
say Billy.
we got Jason. Jason worked. Johnny could fucking work too. I don't fucking know. Freddie, yeah, I guess he fits right in. Michael, yeah, I guess what am I saying? Chucky. That's
Mikey.
hilarious. When you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, I guess they all have stupid fucking names. But I don't know, man. I don't even know where I was going with that, but that's the biggest disappointment to
Oh
me.
no, the final scene. Like
Oh
they just
yeah, yeah. I just hated it because I thought it was so fucking boring, and I thought it was leading to something. And in my opinion, unless I missed something, it led to nothing. She told a boring story about her brother that probably got attacked by Johnny, and then I guess your interpretation, I guess it could go two ways. You interpret as we see that he took the medallion and he hasn't showed up to kill him, so he must be cool with it.
yeah.
It could be that he just hasn't got there yet because the motherfucker's slow and they ran out of film.
That's
Like, you
very
know what I
true.
mean? I don't
Yeah,
know. So I guess it could go either way. And we know that he's awake. He hasn't been taken down, he hasn't been buried. So I'm
he's
sure
out
there's gonna
there.
be a part two. I think part two is gonna be better. Like, I want to see them do
No,
this again, take the criticism, get a higher budget, do something better because
you know
they're
what I
gonna
would
make another.
it well, it's not a good comparison, but I would love if they Evil Dead 2 did. You know, like
Uh,
Evil Dead was pretty much it's Evil Dead just with a budget, you know.
and
I
comedy adds
and
some
yes,
more fun.
yes. Yeah, it's way more entertaining. The first one is a little definitely dark. But I would hope they would do something like that. You know, you had a good idea. Maybe refine it the next time out. Learn from your mistakes. See what didn't work. Don't say maybe certain shots do the POV thing, but don't bill it as a POV slasher. You know, don't
Right.
that was their main advertisement, and that was not the premise they delivered on. Um, so hopefully with the second one that they just do some world. It's I had a I wouldn't mind seeing more from this world. You know, like learning
Yeah.
more about. I'll give them that, but
I wouldn't mind seeing them take another swing at it. You know what I
yes,
mean? But I hope they don't just like, oh man, we crushed it last time. Look how well we did. Because it did do pretty well. This will be by the way, I think it's coming out. I know Shutter is saying it's coming in the fall because it's a Shutter movie. That's another thing that's fucking annoying. I pay for Shutter. This is a Shutter movie. Why did I have to pay for this movie? But supposedly September 13th, which is Friday the 13th,
interesting.
it'll be dropping on
Jason,
Shutter, which is fucking perfect. Spoiler for the Horror Fest lineup on Friday the 13th, September 13th. Last year during Horror Fest, we talked about Friday the 13th one. This year, there's another Friday the 13th during Horror Fest, and we'll be talking about part two and playing some
nah,
trivia, some Jason trivia on Friday the 13th. But this one made $4.4 million, and I'm having a
okay,
hard time finding the budget, but it couldn't have been much. I
bro,
guess
I
it'll
can
be
see 50K. I hopefully they didn't spend like a mil on this shit. It had to be like 50, 70K, maybe 100K. I don't know. Not even
right.
that.
I cannot find. Yeah, there's no budget listed here on.
It was just like,
Ooh,
damn,
hmm.
4 million.
And that's the other thing is like Shutter buys it from them too. So it's like they make money on that end of it. I believe that's how it works. And that's another thing. Like it's been given a longer theatrical run than a lot of those movies would get. Like Late
That's
Night
true.
with the
Yeah,
Devil, I feel like it got like a week or two. This got a run, and then it got a digital download run of a couple
right.
months before they're releasing it. So clearly it's making somebody some money. So we'll get another one of these things. Still, you old son of a bitch up in the house, Warren. Oh wait, Warren's been here. Rogue, that's what I was trying to say. Rogue up in this bitch. Appreciate you guys popping in. Stu, this is your homework for the week, buddy. In case you forgot, Blowout this Thursday, 1981's Blowout. It is streaming at a few different places, but I'm pretty sure I watched it on Amazon Prime. So go check it out on Prime. It's a fun little thriller movie, and again, I'll just reiterate, I picked this weeks ago. It has nothing to do with current political events going on. And then I haven't made the thumbnail yet, but me and my buddy Peter Geiger from Two Geeks Different Streets next Sunday. I'm not sure when we're doing it. I think we're doing it like 6 p.m. Central Time. It'll be a little bit before Rock and Robbie goes live. We're going to be talking about part 1 of our Haunting of Hill House review that we're going to do. We're going to do episodes 1 through 5 of Mike
Nice.
Flanagan's Haunting of Hill House. And then I'm pretty sure the following Sunday, we're going to get together and wrap it up. So this will be our first like venture into horror TV, which is, there's so many people, like my buddy all the time is like, bro, like you're so into horror. And like, in his opinion, the best horror is happening on TV. So it's like, and I don't know, there's a lot of people that probably don't watch too many horror movies, but they love those Flanagan series and things like that. So this will be our first little dip at our
He's like,
toes in that world.
I'm not the biggest horror, aficionado, but I will say like Mike Flanagan, for what I know, like he does that rarely has he. Haven't heard of him missing. Everything he
Totally.
does has, so it's worth watching. It might not be the most amazing, but from what I've seen, everything's been really enjoyable. He did Doctor Sleep, didn't he? Like,
Yeah.
Flanagan?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he did
I love Doctor Sleep.
I'm pretty sure I'll go ahead and say it now. I know at one point before Horror Fest, which again, the full lineup will be announced tonight on Rock and Robbie Live. At some point before Horror Fest, I want to do another one of his movies. Like I think next week. I think that's the plan.
Yeah.
Between the 2 Haunting of Hill House episodes. We'll flan again, and then we'll flan again. If you know what I'm saying. I think I want to do Oculus. Have you seen that one?
No, heard about that one. I've always wanted to check that out.
That's what we'll do then. Yeah, in 2 weeks' time, mark it down right here, folks. We'll do Blowout this Thursday, and then Oculus the following
Is that
Thursday.
the one that got his like buzz? Was because that's like what 2013, 14 was that Oculus?
Yeah, I think it was 2013. And then he did all those Stephen King adaptations too. He did Gerald's Game, Dr. Sleep, which we mentioned. Yeah, which Gerald's Game is another one. My wife's like, do not fucking watch that with me around. He's like, she don't even want me to cover that. She fucking hates that movie. But it's good. Like it's a good kind of creepy ass Netflix movie. But anyway, yeah, Blowout, Haunting of Hill House, Oculus, write it all down, folks. And then on Monday night, tomorrow night, Rock and Robbie, no, not Rock and Robbie Live, PCP movie night. Talking Blade, Steph will be there. Should be a good time as Action Fest rolls on. And then Supreme Clientele, fantastic episode last Wednesday. And I know you guys got good stuff coming up this coming Wednesday, talking comic books, new and old. And then it just went down, baby. The big UK Ireland massive special over on One Collection Down. Our homie, Mr. Fable. We had Mark there. We had a bunch of the comic book community from overseas in the UK and Ireland. Had a great chat. Right. So hell is yes. And again, this is what we just did, and that's what we're doing on Thursday. So any final thoughts? Anything you want to say before we wrap this bad boy up, brother?
These were some cool movies. I'm not mad I saw them. It's crazy because before we had asked the show, like any movies that kind of stood out to you, like before you had asked that, I was like, I felt like this had been a good horror year. But after I thought about that, I was like, it's really not shit that's come up, to be honest. Right. Or it's like, man, it's been ho-hum. It's not been terrible, but
and you didn't love Late Night with the Devil that much. So for you, it's like, the fuck did come out? What did come out? I guess Long Legs seems like it's your favorite horror movie of the year so far, and you gave it a 4.
You know what? I think I gave it 3.69, but after our conversation, I was like, I probably could have given. Upon a second reviewing, I could see myself upping the score. Definitely, it is a 4. It is a 4.
I'll tell you what I did. I don't like to. First of all, I don't like to like listen to a podcast or watch a bunch of reviews on something right before we like review it. I like to I have listened to a podcast on that a while back, and I've got the info or whatever, but I don't like to like fill my head with other people's thoughts before we review something. But I also almost never like want to even think about a movie after we review it. You know what I mean? We've talked about it. I've made notes on it. I've probably watched it twice, but I've listened to 2 podcasts since we did ours on Long Legs. So it's like, I'm into it. You know what I mean?
No, that's why up my score, because after we had the show, I was like, there's like over the weekend, I've just been thinking about, Sunday, but last couple of days, I've thought about the movie more and like, Nick Cage. I can't get Nick Cage out of I don't think anyone can get Nick Cage out of their heads. We've seen that in a movie, obviously. He's in our dream. But no, I think that says something about like, I definitely will rewatch that movie and probably analyze it even further. So to me, this sings of its quality.
100%, dude. Hell yeah, dude. I think it has. I think I gave Late Night with the Devil like a 4.25 and Long Legs a 4. But I think if you ask me a year from now, I'm gonna say Long Legs is kind of the cooler movie, even though it's got issues. Neither of them are masterpieces. I think that's kind of the thing. There hasn't been like a truly like fucking all time great movie
Masterpiece.
come out in 2024.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's Alien Romulus or Nosferatu. But both of those are all of them that I'm looking at are coming out. They're all franchises or remakes. It's Alien Romulus, Terrifier 3, Nosferatu, Smile 2, Speak No Evil. The only originals that I'm seeing are Oddity and Trap, but I'm sure there's going to be a fuck ton announced in the coming months as we
Yeah.
head towards fall and Halloween. So anyway, I appreciate all you guys in the chat. You guys have been awesome. I really do appreciate you, Warren, Stu, Inja, Two Gun, you old son of a bitch, Three Gun Pedro up in this bad boy, Nick, Comic Culture, Cringe Horror Fanatic, Rogue Collecting, Rockin' Robbie Billups stopped by. Chill out, man. You old son of a slut, man. I appreciate all you guys. I don't know why I'm so goddamn vulgar. That's how I was raised. All right, we're gonna get up out of here. I appreciate everybody, and we'll see you next time. Laters.
That will be quite enough of that.